Hello everyone, so today we're going to read a story that we wrote. It's called Neverland, Nevermind, and Nevermind. So before we start, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Almira Kaldesa Semrevrianto, number absent 5.
My name is Avril, number 13.
My name is Desinta Pritaningrum, number 9.
My name is Amanda Rati Parahita, number 7.
Let's get started. Neverland, Nevermind, Nevermind. Oh, to be God's favorite. Augustine heard that a lot. At first, it kind of flattered her because it was always fun to have people seeing her as a flower in a concrete, rare and everything someone could ask for, and well, privileged. She left sparkles every time she walked over cobblestones, and there were never dirty Mondays after she was born. The day Olivia decided to give Aphrodite and Hephaestus a pure-blood child was the day the Olympians cheered the loudest after thousands of years. Rain was pouring, birds were chirping, and life was living. How pleasing it was to have the most beautiful goddess who brought all the blessings that have been taken from them for ages. Had a good night, princess? August blinked several times, blinded by the sunrise as someone opened the curtains. She tried to gain back her consciousness before shouting, "How did you get in? Who are you?" He giggled, ran his fingers through his silky smooth hair while it outshined every glittering thing to exist, even Lumos itself. "Whoa, calm down, take it easy, princess. And stop calling me princess!" August got up from her luxurious and spacious bed, ran immediately to tell her mother about a stranger who just broke into her bedroom. Privacy, a serious matter. Fortune didn't seem to wake up early today because Augustine stumbled upon her vanity and, oh, she tripped. That should have not happened. Her day was already ruined even when she had not even touched her daily breakfast. August screamed her lungs out. It didn't hurt as bad, but the rage inside her couldn't be held back anymore. Who is that annoying golden retriever-looking peasant?
August planned to whine about this strange morning to her dear mother with another veiled messengers about today. Aphrodite explained everything she needed to hear, every answer to all of her burning and passionate questions about a boy who broke into her private room and is as rebellious. Typical teenager. It did not make any better though. "August dear, this is James." That was what Aphrodite said when she made them sit face to face in an unusual breakfast session. James grinned from ear to ear like a Cheshire cat. His eyes played with delight the way honey teases an unsuspecting sunbeam. He began to talk with his subtle and deep voice. "Your Majesty, I am James of Pythia in Thessaly. I have heard so much of you, and I am very happy to make your acquaintance." August was on the verge of rolling her eyes. If only her mother didn't bat an eye on both of them. "Mother, I would like to talk with him, just the two of us." "Sure, sweetheart, I knew you both would make good friends," Aphrodite said as she walked out gracefully like a goddess she is. After a few seconds of silence, August was back at her, staring as intense as possible to make him intimidated again. "Are you mad that I didn't call you princess in front of your mother?" August curled her lips. The fireplace started to get bigger and more alive. That was when James realized he had made a daughter of Hephaestus real upset. James stuttered, stumbled on his word when he witnessed the blazing flame was even more fiery. "I sincerely apologize, Your Majesty. I had no intention to put you in distress." August cackled, covered her rose-like lips and bright teeth with the prettiest hand someone could ever have. Her eyes shut tightly against the mirth, as if she were picturing the scenes inside her head. "You're funny." For a moment, James had forgotten how to function. James of Pythia in Thessaly, a man with the beauty and strength of a god, the humbleness of a man. James was the bravest, most handsome, youngest, and the greatest warrior of the army of Agamemnon in the Trojan War. He was the son of Peleus, who was married to Venus, Aphrodite's helper. Venus would not make any attendance in the Olympus for the whole summer in order to accompany her dear husband, who was a mortal. But they had James anyway, so... James and August then began their enthralling summer adventures. August had never seen a single carnation nor narcissus her whole life, and that was the first time she picked a flower with her bare hand. They walked through the flowery paths, flew over rivers and mountains, lit up the fireplace with August's subtle touch after the rainstorm calmed. They quickly became friends and spent many afternoons together enjoying the beauty of Mount Olympus. I happened upon you standing there so handsomely in this early morning light. James stared at August, seeming to admire the most beautiful exotic rose he had ever seen. He started the conversation just like that on one fine morning after they spent 2 months of summer together. The sun cascading down, glittering upon her dew-encrusted, rose-petal soft cheeks.
The fire of her soul reflected in the depths of her eyes captivates him. Her voice was caressed sweetly upon the gentle breeze, caressing his cheek with her honeyed words. Augustine, the goddess, had her heart set for James, the human god hybrid, during the summer. She was drawn to the tranquil atmosphere and the company of like-minded deities. As she wandered the golden paths of Mount Olympus, her eyes caught sight of James, a warlike demigod in the distance. She found him to be utterly fascinating, drawing her in with his magnetic presence. Augustine found herself stealing glimpses at James, though he seemed to be lost in thought. Little did she know, James caught her in his periphery and was equally drawn to the captivating goddess. James finally gathered the courage to introduce himself to Augustine, the goddess whom he had caught stealing glances at him on multiple occasions. In James' ignorance, Augustine had fallen for him, and James did too. As this went by, the tension between James and Augustine had grown stronger than ever. They had shared many adventures together, discovered and found a lot of fun during the summer. And by that, Augustine's love had also grown stronger for James. "I want to do with you what summer does with the petunia trees," James once said while they were sitting by the water. But for some reason, she never confessed her feelings to him. It's possible that she was afraid of being rejected, or she didn't want to jeopardize their budding friendship. Either way, it's clear that Augustine was deeply in love with James. But for whatever reason, she chose to keep her feelings to herself. Everything seemed as fine with how they slept side by side all summer long. For August, James' touch brought forth an incandescent glow, tarnished but so grand. Her pain fit in the palm of his freezing yet warming hand. August couldn't stop James from putting roots in her dreamland. It was like she was a house of stone, and James was an ivy who grew and she was covered in him. On the other side, no one knew what was going on inside James' head. His longing glance somehow kept burning and fading right away, and it confused the hell out of her. "I dream of you all summer long," August heard James mumble in his sleep one fine evening. "We slept side by side. What do you mean?" James woke up. He looked ready to burst something out, but then he shook his head hesitantly and sighed. "I mean, my mom. Liar, liar, pants on fire."
The truth was, as James engaged in the passing of his time alongside the goddess Augustine, he found it difficult to divert his thoughts away from his love for the mere human Betty. Oh, Betty! The only mortal that could put him in this position of falling too hard and almost losing himself as that love kind of intoxicated him. Betty was a cinnamon, the sweetest girl, a blessing in a cruel world of humans' realm. At the same time, her presence was cursing James' love life, although she had nothing to do with how James felt throughout their summer adventure 1 year ago. Now, whether it being James and Augustine traveling throughout the golden paths of Mount Olympus, or simply sharing moments together, Betty was ever present in his mind. James found himself tangled in a complex web of love, torn between the goddess and the mortal, the divine and the human, unsure of the decision he must make. As time passed by, the air that used to be solid and warm turned to some cold catastrophe. The magic was not there anymore. August heard from elsewhere that she couldn't find the same person twice, not even in the same person, and that was exactly what she felt every time her mind met James. James began to look at her as she was kind of old movie that was buried in dirt and memories. His smile started to fade away. The twinkle was no longer there. His sweet words turned so careless, and not even Hephaestus could lift his heart up again.
One morning, August woke up by herself and James was nowhere to be found. She knew, and she expected everything. Days turned into nights, weeks, and months. Olympus began to feel like what it used to be ages ago. Rain parade hit them every single day as August kept flying and wandering around with her tears pouring down the Olympian's world. After James left her with no closure whatsoever, Augustine kept dreaming about the other woman. Little did she know, she was the other woman. August was the other woman. Clearly, she hadn't learned her lesson even now, because she wouldn't ever mind crisping up his back burner. She would never mind being his second choice, waiting and keep waiting until God knows why. And after everything he put her through, she somehow still believed in him, that one day, maybe he'd choose her after he had enough time. I won't make assumption about why you switched your homeroom, but I think it's because of me. When I sneaked out and flew past your house, I couldn't breathe. The worst thing that I ever did was what I did to you. Please, say something. What else do you want me to say? James felt breath on his throat as Betty just walked away from the door when he wished he would have him and lead him to the garden. Would you trust me if I told you it was just a summer thing? Betty! Betty, I'm only 17. I don't know anything, but I know I miss you. Betty stopped, almost turned her back, yet she continued to walk away. Wiped the tears out of her obsidian. A summer thing, you say? Pathetic liar and cheater. Betty sat in her garden, trying to seek comfort between cows. Her heart broke into a trillion pieces. Chest was about to explode as she couldn't stand the break. Deep down, she would gladly hug him again after a loud silence between those two. James was all ever she wanted. James was everything she could ask for. I'll be fine, Betty whispered to herself in a distant, flat, quiet and lifeless voice. She sank to her seat with sadness and stared into the dark, gloomy depths of her dream, feeling hopeless, empty, and sad. She couldn't even bring herself to eat anything. She felt too sick with longing for him. The three of them, they felt incomplete, worthless, dejected, rejected, and above all broken. Forgetting one another, impossible. A love in which you lost yourself, in which you did not exist, where you felt so elated you only felt that hard and that fast. The pain was excruciating. It seemed like it would never go away. They moved on with each life. No one knew when things started to change. It took them years and years to learn to love again. Love oneself. Love small things that it seemed like it didn't matter, but it did. It looked like nothing much happened until the day they died, and Mount Olympus itself vanished. The three of them had never forgotten what had happened, and they buried their stories with their dead bodies.